For you to be a good mom, you have to be able to take time for yourself because you're giving to everyone else, but you need to make sure you're like taking care of yourself because you can't be the best mom you can be if you're not filling the gas tank for you too. For years, I just did pre and postnatal fitness. I have had a lot of experience with hundreds of women with this. And for a long time, I taught a program that was called Stroller Strides. You would take your babies in the stroller and we would go to like different parks and your baby had to stay in the stroller and we would do an hour workout, but you would run from point to point. So we would make you like bicep curls and like shoulder presses while we're singing ABC in front of our kid. It was a great way for postpartum moms and pregnant moms. All these moms are so tired, sleep deprived, they don't have time, they hardly shower, but seeing how important it is to take that time for themselves every day. A lot of times as mom, when you're a postpartum mom, just like having a new baby, your hormones are crazy, you're so tired, so you're way more emotional, your fuse is super short. And so I think being able to say, okay, I'm gonna take 30 minutes a day or an hour a day for myself to work out is huge. It took 9 months to like have this baby. It's gonna take like 9 months to a year to get back to your maybe pre-baby shape, or every baby, your body could be different every single time. Women and moms need to just give themselves some grace and realize to be able to like keep the weight off sustainable, you have to be consistent, have a plan, have a community, have some workout friends. It'll come off as long as you're doing the right things, nutrition, steps, workouts, sleep, things like that.
All right, Liz Jones, welcome to the Generational Health Podcast.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here.
From Pojo Fitness.
Yes.
Where does the name Pojo come from?
So my maiden name is Posey, and yeah.
That's your maiden name, Posey? That's cool.
I know. I really liked it. I wanted to name Elle Posey, but it's her middle name. So it's Posey, and then my last name now is Jones. So you put it together. I needed to, like 20 years ago, I made Pilates DVDs because I used to only teach Pilates and yoga. And so I needed to have a name for the video, and we got Pojo, and that just stuck.
Okay. You want to know what I thought it was?
A dog's name? Oh, that's what a lot of people say.
So you do power camps. I thought it was Power Joe.
Oh.
Like Power Jones.
Oh.
That's Pojo.
Yeah, like it.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's Posey Jones, but people
cool
don't know
too.
me as Liz. Like, people don't know my real name. So they just call me Pojo. I'll answer to both. Yeah.
Well, why don't you tell us who you are?
Okay. So I am originally from South Carolina, born and raised next to, if you know where if you play golf, it's from the Masters, Augusta, Georgia. It's like my hometown. I went to BYU, got a bachelor's in health science.
You're the second BYU person we had in here today.
Oh, really?
By accident.
Oh.
Except for that other BYU guy also went to Texas A&M, which is where I went.
Oh, I didn't know you went to Texas A&M.
I sure did.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway.
Because you're from Texas, right?
No, from Utah, but I went to graduate school there. Anyway, didn't mean to cut you off.
Anyway, I kind of wanted to go to UT actually.
Okay.
Because I lived in Texas for like 3 years. Anyway. So while I was in college, I got super into like running. I used to dance, like cheer growing up. And so kind of the natural thing was just, let's keep working out, go to the gym. Also, that's what everybody did in college, right? You just hang out. So I decided I'm going to get certified to start teaching classes. So I first started teaching yoga, Pilates, and then from there it was like spin, just everything.
You taught all that in college?
Yeah. I would teach, I think I taught 25 classes a week. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. So I got certified and I started teaching my sophomore year in college. So it's about it'll be 21 years in October. Great job in college, but got super into like health and fitness and nutrition because of that. So my major was going to be broadcast journalism, and then I changed it to health science. And then it kind of spiraled from there. So I graduated. I worked at American Express. I was their corporate wellness director. So I did lots of things in the corporate wellness field for years, which is kind of a fun, different outlet. And then I started my own company about like 15 years ago, started with Pilates videos, and then it's kind of snowballed into now I have an app. I do macro coaching. You can buy, I have like workout subscriptions and workout programs on my app. And then I also have, which Pojo Power Camp, which are 10-week strength and conditioning programs for women.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow. So Can we back up?
Yeah. Oh, and I have 3 kids.
You do have 3
Yeah.
kids. Don't forget about them.
Yeah.
No.
Twins and then a 13-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're a busy mom.
Yes.
You do all this stuff. You're
Yes.
always teaching.
I am at the gym a lot.
But like, okay, so you kind of got right into college and you were already into a lot of sports and everything.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about your family growing up. So
Oh, that's a fun story.
Siblings.
Yes.
Like-
Okay. So my story is kind of probably unique. I grew up, my dad owned a funeral home.
Mhm.
So it dated back, like my great grandpa started it. So it's like, 60 plus years. So we lived in a small town in South Carolina. I am the youngest. I have a sister who's 10 years older than me, and then my brother is 8 years older than me. So I kind of had best of both worlds. Only child, but I also had brothers and sisters. So by the time I came along, they were kind of out of the house. People are always like, were you like my girl? Like growing up in the funeral home,
Mhm.
but so that was kind of in the South. My mom though has always been super, super active and always would cook super healthy. She was always walking with her friends or riding bikes. And so I think that like her healthy habits just were instilled in like my brother, my sister, and I naturally. And she's also like Energizer Bunny. She can't sit still, which I got that gene too. And so that's kind of how I wanted to start teaching. Well, my mom did jazzercise, and then I started doing jazzercise when I was a little kid. And I remember it was my friend's mom, and I thought, this is the coolest job, being a mom. You get to like go and like work out. And so that I've always wanted to be an aerobics instructor ever since like Richard Simmons and jazzercise. I was like, oh, this is my calling. So that's how it happened.
Your siblings are pretty active too, and
Yeah.
that was kind of just ingrained in you
Yeah.
as a kid. Where's your where do you think that your mom got that? Like,
so her dad and her mom were like that too. So
okay,
yeah, just super active. Yeah. So I feel like I don't know any different, you know? Yeah.
So that's interesting because it's kind of the whole backbone of this whole podcast is kind of our influence as parents on our kids and how it has a multi-generational impact for good or bad, depending on what we decide to teach them and, the things they see us doing and all that. Good. And I mean, it puts a lot of pressure on us as parents, obviously. But I think I'm kind of similar. I'm an active person. I didn't teach 20 plus classes in college. I mean,
that's kind of odd.
Never been an instructor, but but I come from a long line of athletes though. Like they were always like, there's stories of great grandfather who was just like way into boxing. And then my grandparents, both of them, were really active. My grandpa on my dad's side his name literally to most people is Coach. Cause
no way.
He started several high school programs across the state of Utah. So like
that's awesome.
Brighton High School, Bingham High School, Tooele High School, pretty much all their wrestling, baseball, football programs. He started them and or coached them.
No way.
So anyway,
like
he's a legendary coach up there. And then my grandfather on my other side, he was like, I was a little kid and he'd be like, hey, do you want to go snowshoeing? And he was just like constantly doing just the most random, he was always walking, always exercising, always had a handful of healthy snacks. He was always making he was juicing his own stuff. Like it was just kind of how I was raised too with seeing my grandparents like that.
Yeah.
My dad, he played collegiate baseball and that's just what I saw. Right. So kind of just trickles down.
Yeah. My great grandma on my dad's side, I should know this. I think she was almost 100, but I mean, up until like the day she died, she was doing yoga. She lived in California and she would like climb up on her trees, prune them all, like super, super active. So same thing. It's like dated back from like 2 generations, like way back 3 generations.
So for you personally, why is fitness so important to you?
I think that without fitness, I would be a crazy person. For me, fitness, it's like, yes, it's great. You get muscles, you get all that. But the most important thing for me is working out every day. 1, that's like kind of like the precedence for the day. And 2, it's such a mental health for me. Like I can go into the gym being super mad, super sad, super stressed. And then I leave after that workout and it's just like a weight is lifted off. So that's why I became so addicted to working out, is the way you feel after.
Do you ever take a rest day?
I take an active recovery day on Sundays. Which you should take rest days. So
yeah,
don't listen to me, but
well,
I take 2 active recovery days, I guess. But not fully rest. I'm going to go for like a weighted vest walk.
I know exactly what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? I can't just sit on the couch all day.
Well, so what happens when you don't go? Like if you actually take a legitimate rest day, how does that make you feel?
Oh, I'd be so tired. I honestly, Colby, I can't tell you when I actually have taken a legitimate rest day.
Do you get moody?
Oh yeah.
To become
and I'll be like, my house is such a mess, like kids freaking out. I'm freaking out.
I'm kind of similar, and I don't know if a lot of people necessarily can relate to that. And I don't know if it's just, but for me, I'm 100% with you that I honestly feel like my training in the gym is far more for my mental
100%
well-being than physical. Like I'm not training for anything. I'm just, and I don't, sometimes most of the time I don't go with any plan at all. I'm just like, hey, today's just like an upper body and I just do a bunch of random whatever.
Yeah.
I do get into different routines, but for me, it's like if I skip it, I feel like the day's just kind of off. And to me, it's only because I've kind of built that habit. So when you kind of fall back out of it, I'm sure if I didn't go consecutively, I probably would be fine.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to know that I feel really uncomfortable when I don't go.
Yes.
So I'm trying to just stay there. So
it's like working out is my therapy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. For sure. I think there's a total mind body connection there. And, I think for a lot of people though, it's very hard to get to the gym. And I know you work with a ton of women here locally and all over, because you've got your app and you help people with nutrition, but specifically to those that really want to be active and go to the gym. I think there's a lot of people, not just women, but I think there's a lot of people that feel a sense of intimidation going to the gym when they see people like you that are like,
or you
bouncing off the walls, like you just got endless energy and you're doing all these crazy jumps and things. They're just like, I can't even like get over a step, right? There's a lot of people that are so like just getting into it.
Yes.
What do you have to say to them? Like if because again, there's like kind of this stipulation or maybe like these false ideas of what the gym is about 100%. Or that people are there like just looking at you or what, but what message would you have to those that just feel intimidated to get into the gym?
All right, I'd say a few things. And this is what I say to a lot of my clients when I do macro coaching. A lot of my clients are new to all of it. The first thing is just show up. Just go and say, I'm going to go 20 minutes, just walk on the treadmill. You can do something that feels somewhat semi-familiar so you don't feel like a fish out of water. You also have to realize that really, honestly, and I think you realize this once the more you go, but people really are not just standing there and like staring at you being like, what is that girl doing? Like everyone is just trying to keep up with themselves, especially if you go to a class. That is like 100% true. You can ask anyone in classes or in my power camps, like no one is paying attention to the other person, what they're doing. Everybody probably thinks that you are, but everybody is just like trying to like keep up, But I also think it's just a lot of being consistent and building that habit. So it's like, have you ever heard of like the 10-time rule? You do something 10 times, it sticks. And so I think if you can just make yourself get there and say, I'm going to go 10 times, by that 10th time, you're going to either feel better or it's just going to be part of your routine or you're going to have some sort of result to just go. So I think it's like, take the intimidation factor out. Maybe you don't do the weight floor. If that's like, figure out like, what is the scariest part of going to the gym? And if it's for a lot of people, especially women, it's lifting weights on the floor. That just like scares the crap out of a lot of people for some reason, which I get. I mean, because it's like, there's a lot of people there, right? A lot of people don't know how to use the machines or anything. So go to a class or, find a corner. And there's so many great workouts on Instagram, or I have a ton of workouts on my Instagram or wherever. Just pick something, have a plan. So you're going to go, so you're not just walking around like a lost dog. But if you can go with a plan, go with like an open mind and just say, I'm going to go 20 minutes, see how you feel after 20 minutes. Chances are you're going to still keep going, but it's just really building like that habit. And I think just realizing that really no one's there judging you. It's more that's in your head.
I'd argue it's almost the opposite. I think there's a misconception that, well, you go to the gym and you see a lot of fit people there. There's no doubt about it.
Right.
It's because they're people that are disciplined and they continue to go, and they're probably similar in the fact that they feel off if they don't go, and it's their routine and they go. But I think you said one of the hardest things is, or one of the most intimidating things is for women to lift weights. But even just, I think it's intimidating just to go in because they feel like they're a fish out of water. Like, oh, I'm not fit and I'm around all these fit people. But I genuinely feel that the gym culture is more like they applaud people that
100%.
take that step to just like get after it and just be like, no, good for you. Like they love to see people just hitting it because they know like it's not easy.
Oh yeah.
And it's, you know, and it's like, it's just a whole journey, but I feel like the gym culture is generally pretty dang accepting of people that are trying to like better themselves.
So in my classes, I've tried to really create a community and environment that's, if you're new, I automatically will come up to you and say, hey, what's your name? And, you know, introduce myself, tell them kind of what the class is like. But also, I mean, I don't tell people to do this, but there are so many people in all of my classes that will go up to them and introduce themselves and make friends. And so that way that takes out the intimidation factor, you know, like right away. So I think classes are a great place to start because most of the time everyone is so welcoming. But even if you get to talk to people like on the weight floor, these guys that like are huge and have all these tats and you think they're like super scary, like they're so nice. And, you know, they'll be like, oh my God, like the other day I was lifting like on the cable machine, there was like two guys talking and one guy was like brand new to the gym. The other guy was like, dude, this is so awesome. You're here. Like, hey, you know, and he's like helping him, showing him how to use the cable machine. He had no idea, like, you know, so I think you're right. Like people are super nice. They're happy they're there. People will help. So I think it's a lot of like in your head, you know, you just got to get out of your head, get out of the comfort zone.
I get curious sometimes what percentage of people, and not just at the gym, but just in general, work out, like the reasons why they work out. That's why I asked you why fitness was so important to you. But what percentage of people do you think work out because they want to change their body or they hate themselves? So they go because they hate the way they look versus those that go because they know it's good for them and they just want to improve themselves.
Right? So I think that's interesting because when I've been in the fitness industry for so long, for like 20 years. And so I've seen a lot of the trends and the mindsets change. I think 20 years ago, it was more or less like, I want to go to the gym because I want to be so skinny. I hate how I look. I hate all of this. But now I think, you know, just in social media, there's a different presence about like going to the gym more for your mental health or going so you can be more functional when you're 70, you can get up the stairs and, you know, pick up your groceries, things like that. So it's interesting because now a lot of people, I probably see about like 300 women a week. And so I have a lot of conversations and a lot of them that are new every session will say like, yeah, I'm coming. I really needed to start working out again just because like I need to be able to move more. I can't get out of bed or I can. So I think there's a higher percentage now of people going to work, starting working out, whether at home or at the gym for the sheer fact that they're like, I'm getting older or I can't touch my toes or I can't move versus like, I hate how I look. They want to go because of like the benefits of how they feel. You know, it's necessarily all aesthetics.
Do you think that people that go to the gym because they don't like themselves, they don't like the way they look, do you think it's less sustainable long term? Like, do you think they get the best outcomes with that mentality versus going to improve themselves because they love themselves and they want to be functional and they want to be able to play with their kids and they want, like, do you think that mental difference
100%
plays a role in how like successful they are in their health journey?
I feel like it would be like 80% mental. I feel like it could go that high because if you're going to the gym because you want to weigh a certain thing, you know, or you hate that you have like, you hate how your legs look, you know, or if you're trying to work out just for a physical aesthetic goal, then you're going to quit most likely. Like I've seen that with clients versus people who go in to just say, my goal is to be able to do a box jump or do a wall walk or to be able to like, you know, up my weight in my squats or something. If you have some sort of like physical goal that's not an aesthetic goal, but more of like an actual like, okay, I can conquer this. Those people are still there. But the people that are there because they want to weigh 100 pounds, that's the ones that cycle. I feel like that you see they come and go because mentally it's just not, they're too hard on themselves. You know, they like, it's like a lot of negative thoughts in their head versus these other people that are like, okay, I like baby steps, you know, like I did step ups today. Tomorrow I can do a box jump, you know, stuff like that. So,
well, I hope more and more people, specifically women, are going because they genuinely just want to like self-care.
yeah.
But you know, I hear women nitpick themselves a lot.
Oh, and it's obvious. I mean,
yeah.
I do it too. I think it's like a natural, like being a girl, like you just naturally nitpick yourself. But I think, especially when you're like talking, but I think it's gotten better, or I try, you know, in my classes or with my clients or on my Instagram to spread the message of it's not always about like the size you are, you know, or what you necessarily look like. Like think of it as more of how you're going to feel after, and you can play with your kids. You're going to be more functional later, moving on, you know, like there's so many other benefits. The physical benefits will come, but don't make that like your main priority.
Right.
You know, it's like a added bonus.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was listening to, Casey Means. I don't know if you know who Casey Means is, but she's been like one of these nutrition crusaders with RFK and trying to help like change what's in our food system. And she's pretty religious, but she kind of honed in on how like a lot of people have lost kind of the spiritual aspect of who they really are and like loving themselves and knowing that they are like a product of a creator, and like what a great gift like just waking up is, and how it kind of helps realign who you are with like your own body. And like it like finding purpose is just so important. And so and who you are as an individual is part of that. And I hate when I hear, you know, whether it's my own spouse or others just constantly nitpicking the way they look or feel, even when they just look amazing. And it's just we all seem like it seems like everyone wants what someone else has, you know, but then someone else wants what you have, but you're like, oh, I wish. Or
like on the outside, things look so much better.
Yeah, it's like
than they really are, and you don't really know. I mean, I feel like that has been a huge thing in the last couple of years that I've really learned that you don't, especially on social media, like you can't really take what everybody's posting with a grain of salt, because someone's always struggling or going through something. So you got to give them the benefit of the doubt, you know. But I think being able to like be surrounded with a positive community that naturally everyone's cheering everybody on, you're everybody's hype girl. Like if you're around those thoughts, then you're going to start thinking those own thoughts about you or yourself, you know.
Do you find that those that you've worked with in the past that are really overweight, that have really struggled with weight their whole lives, is there anything that they have in common that...
I think a lot of it, like we're talking about, is they have to start to love themselves more, you know, before they can really like see the change, because in their self-esteem is so low, it's hard to be committed to doing, you know. But
do you find that their self-esteem is low because of like, is it usually deeper, trauma related things? And I say trauma, I don't want to like
was this like HIPAA? I'm like, I don't know.
Well, no, like,
no,
but you know what I mean? I don't want to misuse that word necessarily or soften it, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like I mean, I think some people, some clients that I've worked with in the past, they used to be, you know, great athletes. Then they started having kids, and they just let themselves go because they felt like they were so busy. They stopped eating healthy, you know. Those clients, they were more of like frustration, not necessarily hate themselves. But I've had other clients who have kind of been overweight from a long time ago, or they were, you know, picked on as kids because of their weight, or like, you know, and so I think those people have had a harder time struggling. Yeah.
So like I mean, there's a lot there. I have so many follow-up questions, just because, you know, like we're around lots of moms too. Yeah. And I think we get into these life cycles of, you know, like you get married and have kids, and you go through like the kid phase of pregnant and nursing and postpartum, and maybe pregnant again, and even maybe pregnant again. In my case, pregnant
like a
few times. Yeah. Well, in my wife's case, pregnant a few times, but
you were there.
I was
helped.
There. So, but you know, like women's bodies go through a lot.
Oh yeah.
And you work probably with a lot of women that have had babies.
Yes.
I'm curious, what advice do you give to those that are trying to get back what, the body that they want after they've just
Postpartum.
completely gone through, like these life altering pregnancies that like
Yeah.
even a pregnancy that doesn't seem like it has, maybe it's not like a high risk, or it still is putting a female body through a ton of stress.
Yeah.
So how do you help them get back on track?
So for years, I just did pre and postnatal fitness. So I have had a lot of experience with hundreds of women with this. And I think the best advice, and for a long time, I taught a program, it was called Stroller Strides. So what you would do is you would take your babies in the stroller. It's a huge like national chain. And we would go to like different parks and your baby had to stay in the stroller and we would do an hour workout, but you would run from point to point. And then we had like bands, so we would maybe do like, bicep curls and like shoulder presses while we're singing ABC in front of our kids or whatever. But it was a great way for postpartum moms and pregnant moms because it was both. You just had to be a mom and have a stroller, or you didn't have to. You could pretend, but to be able to first, I think as your postpartum, it's important to have like that community. And so like going to do those workouts and having that community of like-minded people, that all these moms are so tired, sleep deprived, they don't have time, they hardly shower, but seeing how important it is to take that time for themselves every day. I think a lot of times as mom, when you're a postpartum mom, just like having a new baby, your hormones are crazy anyway, but you're so tired. So you're way more emotional. Your fuse is super short. And so I think being able to say, okay, I'm going to take 30 minutes a day or an hour a day for myself to work out is huge. Like we said, the mental is like huge, but physical, you need that too after you have a baby. And then also I think it's just, you have to realize that it took 9 months to like have this baby. It's going to take like 9 months to a year to get back to your maybe pre-baby shape or where, And so I think a lot of moms I've seen get super frustrated because they want it to come off, or every baby, your body could be different every single time, it's not. And so I think when you have your first baby, it's way easier to get back into whatever shape you were versus your fifth baby, And so I think women and moms need to just give themselves some grace and realize to be able to like keep the weight off sustainable, it's going to give yourself 9 months to a year, but be consistent. You have to be consistent, have a plan, have a community, have some workout friends, and just know that like it'll come off as long as you're doing the right things, nutrition, steps, workouts, sleep, things like that.
But also take a second to like take a deep breath and look at how miraculous your body is. And that it brings a human life into this world. And, all of it is just,
I'm kind of the worst person to ask because I was doing planks like right after I had a baby. You shouldn't do that, but I'm kind of crazy. Or I was supposed to be on bed rest and I would do burpees every hour.
Yeah, that's probably
no, it wasn't.
ill-advised.
It's kind of psychotic, but it worked out.
So what would you say to the mom that feels guilty about spending time selfishly on herself?
So this was hard for me. This is why I actually started teaching stroller strides, was because I still wanted to be with my kids. So I started teaching stroller strides when I moved to Arizona, and I only had just my first one. And I was teaching at a gym first, and she hated the daycare. And so I would feel so bad, like taking her to daycare, she'd cry, and I was like, I can't do this. So I had a jogging stroller, and then I got a triple jogger when I had my twins. And so, my kids were with me a lot. But that's why I started doing stroller strides, was because you take your kids with you, they sit in the stroller and you're working out. And then after, it's like a play date. But I think for moms, you have to realize that for you to be a good mom, you have to be able to take time for yourself, because you're giving to everyone else, but you need to make sure you're like taking care of yourself, because you can't be the best mom you can be if you're not filling the gas tank for you too. And so I think even if it's 20 minutes, just something, like everybody has some sort of 20 minutes in the day somewhere you can find it, and do that, and take the guilt out of it, because it's good for you to do that, for you to be a better mom.
Yeah, I think that's for all of us, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how
or a dad or whatever, you know?
Yeah, how much are we going to be able to be there to, I don't know. It's the whole like airplane mask,
Yeah, totally.
mentality. It's just like if I don't take care of myself first, how am I supposed to help everyone around
Yeah,
me?
you can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think there are a lot of parents that feel a bit of guilt to go to the gym, or like
Yep.
if their spouse is, recovering from something and not able to work out, but I go focus on myself, and like, do I feel guilty because like, I think that dynamic can be really dangerous, because like, if I want to be able to care for my family, I've got to take care of myself first. And that might sound selfish, but I'm doing it for selfless reasons.
It's not like you're going for 5 hours,
Yeah.
but it's like a car and a gas tank. Like, you can't just drive on empty.
Mhm.
You're going to get stuck.
Also, you don't want me in a bad mood.
Yeah.
I'll be in a bad mood.
Right. So I think you just have to kind of stop and realize, like, okay, this isn't selfish. This is what I'm doing to be a better mom.
Sundays tend to be also the day that I try to rest the most, and those end up being the days I have the most headaches.
Yep.
So,
yeah.
I'm curious. So you see 300 clients a week. A lot of people around here know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
You are constantly working out. I'm curious.
It appears like that.
I'm curious. Like, do you feel any sense of pressure to keep up a particular image? Like, is there like a weird, like you feel like because you have all these people that look up to you and depend on you, that you have to like, you got to keep it up? And it's like, is there any kind of mental
I think when I was like
when
I was in my like 20s in college, of course it was like, that was like a bigger, like, I felt like I had to keep up this image. And I went to BYU, and Utah's like fit culture. And, I felt like I had to like always look super cute or be a certain size or whatever. And what's funny is I feel like I actually was always frustrated with my body more than now. I'm fine with it. But I feel like as I get older, now I'm just kind of like, no, like, this is who I am, whatever. Like, I feel like when I'm actually dressed and in like regular clothes, and I'll see people from my classes out, they're like, they don't recognize me at first, because they're like, oh, it's like weird to see you. Usually I just probably look super sweaty, top knot on my hair, sweat all over. But I just feel like that's my job, and like, that's who I get. I kind of feel like I'm pretty like what you see on Instagram is how I am in real life. I try to be authentic and not just be like two different images. So I feel like I don't really care. Like, you get who you get.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of people that are kind of, they've put themselves out there, and they're in kind of that influencer category. And I just wonder sometimes if they feel like they can't take a break because it's just, they have to like live up to this image that they've created.
Yeah. I mean, I think I've been doing it for so long. This is just like, it's part of who I am.
Yeah.
And so I just feel like it's like, I work out, like, that's my job. I like to do it. That's what I do in the morning. It's just like a habit. So I feel like it's just normal.
Well, and I can confidently tell you that all the people that I know that know you, that have gone to your classes, would say that you're authentic.
Okay. Well, thanks, Colby.
That you are the same person at the gym as you are outside the gym. It's just your personality.
Yeah.
And I know you've helped a lot of people here locally. I'm curious, just to shift gears a little bit. There has been a bit of a controversial topic around GLP-1 use within the fitness community. You get a lot of fitness influencers that are they've kind of labeled it cheating, or, like, you shouldn't do it. You don't know the long-term side effects. And they throw out all these like kind of scare tactics around it. I have my own opinions, but as a person that's really heavy into the fitness side and nutrition side, do you think there's a place for GLP-1 use for those that are trying to lose weight and also be part of your fitness community?
Okay. First of all, anybody is welcome in my fitness community. Like, I don't really care what you do. Just as long as you come and you're, nice, you can come.
Yeah. Just don't be an a-hole.
Yeah. Just don't do that. So yes, this is such a hot topic. I originally was probably one of those people that I was like, this is ridiculous. I think it was more the sheer fact it was people that were weighing like 100 pounds and were like, I want to lose even more weight. It's like, that's not a healthy thing. But I do know there are a lot of people who have benefited from it, have had a hard time losing weight anyway. And it's a good, jumpstart, a good way to start. I think where I have a hard time is I think that people need to understand that you need to be eating adequate protein and lifting weights so you don't lose your muscle. Because, as we age, about 35, we start to lose our muscle and our bones start to get a little bit like more brittle. So lifting weights is, especially in your 40s, is so important to help keep that. And so I think as long as you're doing that and having, a healthy outcome image, like healthy patterns, then it's fine. But I think they just need to make sure you're actually eating protein and also having a plan, when you're on it. Just don't go in with it thinking like, okay, I'm just going to take this and see what happens, but, eat whatever I want or not really work out, because I feel like, you can't stay on it forever, but, or I guess you could.
There are some people that are on it forever. Yeah, it is a tricky one, but
it's a hard thing. I just feel like you need to have a plan.
I think the problem is there's a lot of clinics that were prescribing it, over prescribing it to people that shouldn't have qualified for it.
Right.
To your point, are those people that are just trying to lose a few pounds. That's not what it was made for.
No.
In fact, the brand of medications, specifically are FDA approved for like people that are diabetic and obese.
Yes.
And so like at Hiva Health,
yeah,
we only prescribe it to those that meet pretty strict qualifications, meeting those standards of clinically overweight and obese.
Yes.
And in those cases, even then, one of our biggest hurdles that we try to avoid is rapid weight loss. Because as you know, with like rapid weight loss, you're going to have hormonal problems.
Right.
Your hair might change because of the hormonal issues when you do rapid weight loss.
Yeah.
And when you lose weight really fast, what's going to happen to your muscle? You're probably going to lose a higher percentage of muscle when you do that. So we put a huge emphasis on making sure that the weight loss is still that responsible amount. Like when you see people losing weight, how much should you be losing a week if you're like really on a weight loss journey?
I feel like I have like 2 to 5 pounds.
Maybe. I would say,
but I would say usually it's like 2 to 3.
Yeah.
Honestly, some of my clients, it's like 1 pound. Yeah. And then, but it's sustainable. And those clients, like, I have clients from like 5 years ago, they've lost 30 pounds. They've kept it off because it was a slow decline. And so, that's what I'm saying is like when this first came out, it was like the big buzzword, the big hot topic, everybody, the big trend. I think now I feel like it's been around long enough. There's more research. I feel like there's a lot of other places now that prescribe it and they do it more responsibly versus just like handing it out like candy. But also though, there's like lots of research with PCOS that it is, it can help that, like taking a very small dose of it with like perimenopause, menopause, so
there's that's what's
like
awesome
a tiny,
about
tiny
it.
dose, you know what I mean? And so,
we call that microdosing in the pharmaceutical world. But it's really interesting because we want to avoid muscle loss at all costs. Like but anytime, even if you were not on a GLP-1 and losing a bunch of weight, you're going to lose some muscle. It's just trying to retain as much as you can during that time period. And so we do preach kind of that doctrine of like, hey, you need to focus on resistance training for muscle, make sure you get your protein intake and all of that. But getting down to even microdosing, I'm glad you brought up kind of the non-weight loss benefits that are coming from it, because we're seeing, fertility is kind of an interesting one. Like there's women that can now get pregnant they couldn't before. So it's making people metabolically healthier in many cases. And it's not for everybody, but like we're seeing, PCOS symptoms improve. You're seeing heart inflammation improve. You're seeing brain function and cognitive ability improve. Obviously we check blood markers all the time. We see, just your blood sugar is at a much healthier level. You see cardiovascular disease going down. So there's all of these other, there's trade-offs to every medicine you take, right?
Right. I just feel like, and just like, peptides, I've gotten on this new huge kick of like, there's so many. Well, I went to take all, like BP157.
GLP-1s are a peptide.
Right. That's what I'm saying. But I'm saying there's other peptides besides GLP-1 that do other things. Like BP157 helps, inflammation, helps, like I work out a lot, can help reduce injuries, things like that. Yep. There's just so many of them now that it's like, oh my gosh, which ones all should I take? Because it's like,
there's a ton.
And I don't think people realize that there's like more peptides besides just like the GLP-1s.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't know what peptides are, but they're short chain amino acids that your body's already creating.
Like you're making them. It's just helping give that extra.
Yeah. The GLP-1s are just interesting. Their half-life is a lot longer, so it helps you stay satiated, and the gastric emptying process. It helps with like kind of like the mental side of food noise and all that. So it's been interesting. I've seen a lot of people's lives change from it, but at the same time, I do think that there's a balance of making sure that we make sure that we're not prescribing it to those that just want to lose a couple pounds. That's where you just got to get into the lifestyle piece of it and say, look, we can help you without that. Like you shouldn't take a medication unless you really need it. Right. In any case, in my opinion,
like anything.
Unless it really enhances the quality of your life, and the trade-offs, like the benefits outweigh the risks of taking it. But anyway, I just wanted to get your opinion on that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think they can be fine. It's just like starting with anything, like you just should have a plan. It's like, if you're going to just start a workout program, like it's good to have a plan, And so I think with that, it's the same thing. I mean, I've seen people both ways, taking GLP-1s and just taking the GLP-1s and not really doing anything, versus the ones who are still getting the protein, lifting weights, and they're just more successful, And so I think it makes sense. If you're already going to like invest in this, then go the extra step and
have a plan.
Yeah. And keep your muscle. I mean, we all need to keep our muscle. That's so important as we age. So
why is keeping muscle so important?
Well, Colby,
let's hear it.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many things. So I think also, I mean, so my mom is 74 and she walks a lot. And so I've been trying to get her to just even do like resistance training with bands. Because as we age, like muscle obviously burns more than fat. So that's huge for metabolism, for hormones. And it will just, we just decline. Like we need to be able to have muscle to function as we age. Same thing with like your bones, it's like you need to have good bone health, bone density, because the frailer they are when you get older, we'll break them. There's just, So.
Yeah. Muscles
is kind of like the building blocks of.
Well, it's the primary source of glucose disposal. Yes. So and I love, there's some other doctors out there and other podcasters that talk about this, but I love the concept of like, for people specifically trying to lose weight that think that they're overweight or fat, is that they should stop focusing so much on feeling like they have too much fat and focus on the fact they don't have enough muscle. And if people went into the gym or had nutrition plans or others that, other plans around like trying to lose weight, that they should really just focus on building muscle, and they'll naturally just lose weight, because it is the primary source of glucose disposal. But
and it helps with like, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just was thinking about this thought, but your estrogen, like your estrogen as you age declines, and like the more muscle you have, so the more lifting heavy you have, it's like helps you maintain that, and if we don't, you need estrogen for, insulin, like, there's like so many different things. It helps with muscle mass. It helps with energy levels, your serotonin, and so, yes, like you're saying, it's all connected.
Well, it is the organ of longevity. And the one interesting statistic about, kind of as we age, you talked about estrogen. Women, when they hit menopause, they stop producing estrogen.
Yeah.
And one important part of that is you see a lot of women, I mean, I want to say like, of all the so of all the hip fractures that happen in a year in the United States, like 70% of them are women. And why is that? So men's hormones kind of just decline over time. Yeah. Women's hormones literally just drop off a cliff at like menopause.
I'm freaked out. Yes.
And so a lot of the work that you're doing right now is what's going to be there to protect you later.
Yes.
But one statistic with hip fractures, I looked this up earlier because someone mentioned it on a podcast, and I thought, okay, I need to research this. There are more women that die in the United States each year from hip fractures than breast cancer.
No way. That's wild.
Which I think is kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's really
crazy.
So
hip fractures generally are going to happen because you haven't like armed yourself with probably with muscle. And your hormones might not have been optimized.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But I think it's just important because I turned 40 this year. And so I am just like, oh, okay, 40, that's like a big number. But that's when, a lot of things start to happen, start to change with your hormones. And so I feel like I'm trying to do everything I can to be able to, when that hits, like perimenopause or menopause hits, I'm not just like, oh my gosh. I think it's very important as women to go get your hormones checked, because if you're, feeling off or you can't lose weight or you know, like you have low energy or whatever, it's most likely some sort of hormonal situation. But yeah, like your estrogen and progesterone, like they're going to decline. And so I think also it's important for women to take, I don't take a lot of supplements, but I did finally just start taking creatine. I bought it a year ago and I just finally was like, okay, I'm going to take it. But that, you know, is like the most researched supplement out there. But that has so many benefits for like women 40 and beyond. You probably know. I mean, it's obviously helps with like muscle mass, but it helps with like cognitive function, your brain function, metabolism, you know, all those things. And so I think doing that, lifting weights, walking, getting your steps, protein, sleep. I think sleep is also something that a lot of people do not prioritize. And you know, like if you're getting low sleep, your cortisol levels are going to be up. You're going to hang on to weight. It's going to be hard to lose weight. You're going to be extra stressed. So I think just being able to like do all of these things is super helpful. But I think it's important that women, you know, understand they need to go get their hormones checked because sometimes, you know, like you're going to need some help. And so just, you know, I think a lot of people will be like, I have a lot of clients and they'll come to me or they will use the excuse like, oh, I can't lose any weight. It's my hormones. I said, have you gotten them checked? And they say no, but they're also eating like crap, you know? So I think it's kind of like, it's all a puzzle. Mm-hmm. And I think people need to understand that there's a lot of pieces of the puzzle to do as you're 40 before menopause, perimenopause hits, because, you know,
there's a lot that
I'm
you can
scared
do
for that.
There's a lot that you can do to protect yourself.
Yes.
Now with proper hormone treatments. Mm-hmm. And the other big thing too is like before menopause, I mean, there's the whole perimenopause phase that could be a 10-year journey.
That's what I was about to say. You could be in it forever and not even realize it. Like 30, like you did it at 30, you know, 35 to 45 or 35 to 40 or
But even through that process, that just the sheer amount of roller coaster ride that your hormones go through during that time period.
Yeah.
You with proper like monitoring, you can really smooth that roller coaster out.
Yeah.
And I think some women get stuck just like feeling like, oh my gosh, my libido's through the roof. And then all of a sudden it's just gone and they don't know where the heck it went. And then next thing they know, they're like super, super angry. And then they have like really, really tough periods, or maybe they're like coming, you know, more frequent than others. And it's this whole crazy roller coaster that a lot of that can be smoothed out quite like pretty well with the proper treatment.
Yeah.
And it helps protect your body as you go into menopause. So once you hit menopause, you're not frail. You're not like, you don't have like the precursors of osteoporosis, like your bone density is strong. Like that's all stuff you got to be doing while you're in that hormonal roller coaster, but you won't really know unless like all the symptoms, you have all the symptoms, but getting blood work is just a great way for providers to figure out the roadmap at that point.
Totally.
Like it kind of validates the symptoms, but all of a sudden it helps them see, okay, well, maybe we should start here and maybe do a little bit here to help kind of navigate through that process of perimenopause.
Yeah. So I feel like I try to preach, like, you know, do all these things, like prioritize resistance training, get your protein, you know, sleep, like do all these things to arm yourself. So then when it hits, you're not starting from scratch. You're already, you know, your body's already ready to go.
So
you're so lucky you don't have to deal with that, Cole.
I know. Dude, guys are pretty dang lucky. Because like I said, our hormones just kind of drop over time. It's pretty, I mean, it starts earlier than others, but I mean, it takes a little while to dial in a guy's hormones. Some it's easy, some it takes some time.
Yeah.
But it's way simpler than women. Women have it far more complicated. And it's really a tragedy how under studied it is.
Yeah, I feel like now, do you know Dr. Stacy Sims? Have you ever followed her? I love her. She is kind of like the forefront. I feel like a lot of people, she did an awesome podcast with Mel Robbins.
Okay.
But her main thing is, you know, hormones, women's health, perimenopause, menopause. She preaches like, get your protein, you know, resistance training, all the things like we're talking about. And she has a lot of great podcasts, a lot of great like research, you know, that has proven you do these things and, you know, you're going to come out better. You're going to, you know, get through it. And like you were saying, this will help you if you start now, then instead of versus like you start menopause tomorrow and you haven't done any of this. Well, you're going to be scrambling, but
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I did IVF. I did 2 rounds of IVF for my kids. And so my hormones were super jacked for a long time. I have PCOS. And so again, they were like kind of jacked. And so I understand that like when your hormones are like this, like a roller coaster and just kind of up in the air, I mean, you feel crazy, and it's hard. So once you can get them leveled out, you feel like a whole new person,
Yeah.
And so.
But do you think that a lot of women that are going through all that
Mm-hmm.
have been conditioned to believe that that's just normal?
Yeah, that's what, like, versus like when my mom went through it versus, when I'll go through it. I think now there's so much more research and also so many other people now preaching like what we're talking about versus like, I remember my mom went through menopause and she went through it like kind of early. And I just remember she had like the worst hot flashes. It was like in July in South Carolina and she had like 10 fans. And I was like, oh, I'm like scared to death. Like, please don't let me be 45 ever. But and it was just kind of like, everybody was just like, oh, you're in menopause. Like, okay, well, that's it. Like, end of the world, you're going to, gain weight and, you're never going to be the same again. And now I think it's more of just like, yep, I'm going through it. But you see all of these women that still look amazing. But they've already been doing, lifting weights. They're eating their protein, they're getting their blood work checked. And so it's like, it's such a different, like, what am I trying to say? It's a different, like it's, not advertised, but you know what I mean? It's like displayed way different now than it was, years ago. It was like a scare tactic. Now I feel like more people are like, this is normal, but this is what you can do to be prepared.
Yeah, there's been some taboo around it. And I think there's been a lot of doctors that have been afraid to prescribe certain things because of some like really old studies that were done that maybe showed some correlation between, certain types of hormone therapies and cancer. And so there's just a lot of doctors, they just didn't know. They don't know enough, but there's a lot more knowledge out there now. And I'm hopeful that women feel that if they feel off, that they can go somewhere to feel normal again. And I would challenge all women to really like challenge what their normal is, because there could be a new normal that could be a lot better. I just think that there's a lot of women that get to a point where they just kind of get used to, like having really bad periods, migraines, like long, maybe, like just really long periods and like off and irregular, like all that just becomes quote normal.
Yeah.
And what I'm challenging is saying that doesn't necessarily have to be your normal.
No.
But it all starts with kind of taking action to go get your labs done and then meet with a good provider that can walk you through,
what's going on.
Maybe a pretty simple, low regimented process just to kind of like smooth things out, and you'll feel substantially better and you'll feel a lot more motivated to get stuff done, to go to the gym and, all the other things. So
also, I feel like when you're on your period, working out, because I have the worst periods, working out is like magic fix. Like people will not go because they're on their period, and I'm like, just get up and go. You feel so much better after.
Well,
so
you are Liz Jones. And,
I mean, I'm just saying, like, it helps to kind of move around,
I bet there's some women that are going to watch this, are going to roll their eyes, and they're just going to be like, well, yeah, of course Liz would go when she.
Yeah. I mean, I would go even if I was about to die, probably. But I do think, though, going back to community, this is like one of these hot topics that we talk about a lot after classes. And I feel like the majority of the people in my classes always ask, or that one of them is like, oh, I went and got my hormones checked. I feel so much better. Like, I feel like now it's more of a positive, encouraging thing. Like, these are the things that you should do. And so it's like having that environment again of like like-minded people that are going through things. That's so important too, to have that community when you're in this phase of life.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm curious, maybe shift over to nutrition a little bit. We don't have a ton of time, but
oh my gosh.
What?
I didn't realize how long we've been talking.
Yeah, we have. We've been chit-chatty.
Good gracious.
So macro counting.
Okay.
There's a lot of people that absolutely hate to count their macros, journal their food or anything. It's just a pain in the butt. They don't like doing it. They won't do it. What advice do you have for the individual that's trying to track what they're eating, but they will not track their food?
Well, I have a lot of clients that start out like this. First thing is, I know people hate tracking their food, but it's so eye-opening. If you were to just track your food and you've never done it, because when you sign up with me, I'm your macro coach. I make you track your food for 4 days. Eat as you normally would. I do that for 2 reasons. One, it's like very eye-opening for them to realize, oh my gosh, like I'm eating so much fat, but not enough protein, or, whatever. They're able to like really see. And two, it gives me like more of an idea before I do their like custom count and stuff. But I know that seems overwhelming when you have, so if you don't know what macros are, if you're listening, macros are your calories, carbohydrates, protein, and fat. You have a specific set of grams and calories of each of those macros that you would hit each day. So that's a lot though, if you've never done it. And so if you were new to macros, I get my clients to just start tracking protein. Just start out with protein because protein is most important. And a good rule of thumb for protein is 1 gram of body weight, I'm not saying this right, 1 gram of protein per how much you weigh. So if you weigh 120 pounds, eat 120 grams of protein. But
I don't want to correct you. Can I say one thing?
Yeah.
How much you weigh or how much your ideal body weight is?
Well, it'll say like how much you weigh, but you could do it either way. Like if you're a smaller person,
I'm just thinking if I'm cutting weight.
But like if you're not, right. But I'm saying if you've never done it.
Mm-hmm.
But what I was going to say is I usually just get people started with 100 women. We're talking about women, not dudes. I would do 100 grams of protein because a lot of people don't even eat that.
Most women do not get
most
that much.
Women normally will eat probably about 40 grams of protein, 40, 45 grams is that's like what I see normally. Mm-hmm. And so if you can get up to doing at least 100 grams, then you can build up for them. Because it's really, if you're doing your macros, it really depends on so many other factors, like what your goal is. Some people want to cut. So that means, you're going to have less calories. Some people want to bulk. Some people want to just do maintenance. And so, that your macros could be general. But I think if you could just start tracking your protein, that's huge.
Yep.
And also when you track macros, you don't have to track them forever. Like I don't really track them now. I do always measure out my protein when I'm at my house because I just want to make sure I'm getting like the right amount. But I've been doing it for so long that I literally can just pick out and know this is about how many grams. And so I think it becomes second nature. Eventually, visually, you'll be able to see a plate and say like, okay, this needs to take up like half the protein, and then you'll get to see whatever else. But I think you just also need to, I tell people when they track macros, they need to follow the 3 Ps. So they need to, 1, plan ahead. So plan out kind of like your meals for the week on Sunday. Get like a couple of dinners, a couple of lunches, like what are you going to eat? 2 is to pre-log. Pre-log your food every day before you start eating or the night before. So then you're not in the kitchen like at lunch trying to like play Tetris. You know exactly like what you're going to eat for the day. And so then that way it just becomes more of like, oh, okay, open it up. Yep, this is what I'm eating. And then it also shows that like if you pre-log everything, you're going to see like what you're deficient in macro wise. Like maybe you're way over fat, but you're 20 grams under protein. So then it is like, it becomes Tetris where you have to figure out the portions. So pre-logging is game changer. If you don't pre-log, you're probably going to fail at macros. And then prep just some quick lean proteins, like have on hand. Like I always will have like turkey pepperoni, Greek yogurt, like turkey. And then I'll have, like chicken and already cooked chicken or whatever. Just have stuff that you can just grab for lunches and stuff. So then that way you're not, if it's already prepped, you're more likely to eat it versus having to cook it,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So pretty much there's no way around it. You're saying you have to journal your food.
I mean, I am a big believer in that. I feel like that's where I found success. I used to do years ago, like 10 years ago, it was clean eating was the big way to lose weight kind of before macros. And yeah, it's important to eat clean, but you could be way overeating, clean foods. And I feel like macros was the one thing for me that I saw results, but also mentally, my relationship with food changed for the better. A lot of people will say they think it's like macros, makes it feel like a diet. for me, I was able to really see like, hey, I can have like an ice cream cone and still be able to like hit my goals because I'm eating everything else. So for me, I feel like it gave me more of like food freedom versus like punishment, you know? And I think people don't realize that, but that's kind of the beauty of macros, is that it's more like teaching you how to eat for your body and more portions, and seeing like what you can eat versus like a diet. Because I don't want my clients to cut out any food. Like, don't eat like, you know, low carb diets, stuff like that. Like, I think it's important to eat everything just within balance.
Yeah. So I'm a big believer in macro counting too. I just know it's hard for a lot of people to do it.
Yeah.
I am a big believer that for someone that does not journal their food, just by simply journaling their food, they will lose weight.
Totally, because you're going to see
not even like changing anything other than just seeing what you're eating.
Right.
You're probably going to lose weight. So that's just one easy tip. But the other thing too is like, I've heard people say, you know, if you're trying to measure out, like if you're out to eat or something and you don't have a way to journal it, like just if you can focus on your protein, which you said is really important for a couple of reasons. One, because it's essential. Carbohydrates are non-essential. So fat and protein are those two are essential.
Right, you need them.
You need them to survive. But protein, again, goes back to being like the primary source of what feeds our muscles.
Yes.
But it's also the most satiating thing that we have.
That's why I get them to do protein.
So if you can focus on your protein, you're most likely going to fill up on that first. But a rule of thumb is to get protein portions the size of your palm, right? Yeah. So like if you're not there to like measure everything, it's like, okay, well, is this chicken breast or like this piece of steak or like eggs or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
Just trying to generally use that as a rule of thumb that every meal you should have at least the size of your palm. But I'm a big believer in journaling too. And I don't think sometimes I think it gets overcomplicated. Like even if you just tracked protein only, you don't even have to have an app or anything like that. You could just be like, okay, well, this meal was 30, next meal was 40, this one was 10. Like you can add up 5 things.
And it's super easy to actually hit 100 grams if you're eating, you know, 30 grams of protein. Yeah. And people will start to realize like, oh, this is, you know, very important. That's why I always start with protein is because it keeps you satiated. It gives you energy. You know, it's like you need that. You need fat, obviously. And like fat is also going to help like digestively push everything through. You know, you need like the carbs for energy. But I think tracking macros is kind of like eating an elephant. It feels like that at first. And so if you can break down and get used to just tracking the protein, most of the time, a lot of my clients end up tracking all of the macros in the long run because they're like, oh, I can do this. This isn't that hard. You know, it's just baby steps of tracking it and just getting in the habit of doing it. And also if you have like food like if something's bothering you, if you're like, maybe you have food insensitivities or you're super bloated all the time, it's nice to be able to have that journal to go back and see like, okay, well, what did I eat this last week? And then say, oh, this is a new food. Maybe this is what's making my stomach hurt, you know, things like that. So
well, we
talked a lot of benefits.
Yeah. We talked a lot about protein and its importance. You know, I think one thing I wanted to point out too is like the FDA's recommended daily amount is 0.8 grams. 0.8, it's 0.8 grams of protein per pound or per kilo.
No, it's per kilogram,
which is even
body
less.
Weight.
So it's far less. And that amount translate essentially barely to the amount of maintenance. Yeah. So if you are not even eating that much, you're not eating enough to just maintain the muscle that you currently have on yourself, let alone try to build muscle.
Because it ends up being like, I think like 50, that's like 56 grams for men and like 43 or something for women.
Very low.
Which is like super low.
Way too low.
Yeah.
Well, good. I know we're about time here, but I appreciate you know, talking through all of this stuff. I think there's a lot that we can learn from you. You've been, you know, obviously incredibly active and you've got just a really fun personality in the fitness space here, and tons of people go to your classes and have a good time, and you're influential and for the better, for good. So appreciate everything that you're doing, and thanks for coming in and sharing some of your knowledge with us.
Yeah, this was a blast. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. We'll have you come back again. We'll talk more about other controversial
We could keep
things.
talking.
We probably could.
Yeah.
But we got to go.
Yeah.
So, all right. Thanks.